Hey, did you see Rebel Moon Part 1 yet? Zack Snyder's new sci-fi romp on Netflix? Well, I did. And after watching, I went online to see a lot of people hate this movie. Now, I can't particularly say I liked it, but hate is a really strong word. But then on the flip side, there are people that love this film, adore it. And it made me think, is Zack Snyder the most misunderstood director of our generation? Let's talk about it. So it took me and my wife 3 whole nights to finish Rebel Moon Part 1. It's crazy knowing that a Part 2 is coming out very soon. I'm probably going to watch that because I watch everything, but it took us 3 nights. That movie, it wasn't bad. It just was boring. It was a boring movie. It was like they were just recruiting people for almost the entirety of the film, and then it just kind of ends with the notion that you'll watch a director's cut or Part 2 to it. And that's kind of been the structure of a Zack Snyder rollout, with his DCEU movies. There's a director's cut and the Snyder cut. It's just a lot of different cuts of these films. And it would be nice if they were a little more interesting. Maybe the characters be a little more interesting, but that's something that runs throughout all of his films. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Because going into this, I kind of expected what I watched, which sounds crazy. I really like Zack Snyder's visual aesthetic. That man, as a person who films things, he makes some cool looking shit. So I always feel the need to watch his films. Even when I wasn't doing filmmaking, I still like the aesthetic of his films. I think his stuff is beautiful. He makes gorgeous looking images. But going in, I know that the storytelling is very similar throughout all of his films. So I'm not surprised when a character's underdeveloped. I'm not surprised when there's a plot hole because there's probably a 4-hour cut of it somewhere. So I'm not shocked by any of this. But then I go online and I read the response to any of his films at this point, and it's kind of the same shit. It's like people going into it not really expecting what they're going to see, and that's crazy. The man, probably out of any director right now, has such a distinct style to not just his visuals, but his storytelling. A Zack Snyder. You could turn the volume off and know a Zack Snyder film, and you could damn near turn the image off and listen to it and know it's a Zack Snyder film. It's that similar throughout. Like, he has a style to his films that's very obvious at this point. So if you're going into it to watch it, you kind of know what you're getting. You know what you're getting yourself into. So I see people like upset, I wasted 2 hours. Come on, man. You knew what you were doing. But then on the flip side, you have his supporters, his fans, the people that got that Snyder Cut released, those people. And they talk about him like he's Stanley Kubrick. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's making some very deep shit, right? And I don't think I've ever watched a movie of his where I thought it was deep or it had layers of meaning to it. He has some imagery of, Jesus in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, which is behind me. But realistically, it's not cutting too deep. And I think a lot of that too is not saying that you can't make a fantastical story that has feeling and emotion and deep meaning. But when that's all you make, that's all he's ever made. He's never made like a movie steeped in, what I would consider reality, right? Yeah, it's like you kind of get caught in the shallowness of it, right? The visual part of it. Everything looks like it's ripped out of a comic book. I would like to see Zack Snyder attack, something real, or maybe put his spin on something real. Christopher Nolan, he does, the Inceptions, the Interstellars, but they even feel steeped in reality, right? But then he just did Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer's like, whoa. Or even Memento for that matter, like something steeped in reality or it's something that feels real. None of his movies feel real. They all feel like fever dreams, right? And I guess, that probably is the cool thing about Zack Snyder at this point, but his storytelling suffers from it. I feel like if he had a chance to make a film like that, you know, a drama or something of that nature, biopic, whatever, we could kind of see him flex his muscles if he has any. You know, I don't want to, you know, doubt the man, because, you know, turn around, he makes one of the best stories ever told. That's any human being, right? See him flex his storytelling muscles on something that has to have some kind of character development or it won't work. See, with these films, you kind of can get away a little bit with, you know, the visual style, even though a lot of these movies weren't successes. I did like the Snyder cut of Justice League. I thought that was cool. Batman v Superman, that wasn't that great. 300 is my shit. So he's made stuff I liked. So this notion that he's a bad director is not true. He's not fucking Uwe Boll or anything like that. Shit, I did like Blood Rain though. But the notion that he's a hack or these words people use, that's not true at all. It's not true. He just makes movies that have a distinct flavor and it's not your flavor. And that's leading to the misunderstanding of him as a director. So kind of like with a Michael Bay movie. When I see the words Michael Bay on the bill, I know exactly what I'm walking into, without a doubt. And I'm not mad at it. I love Bad Boy. You know, Transformers, those movies suck. They're awful. But I know what I'm getting into. But here's the thing. Michael Bay made a movie called Ambulance. I want to say 2 years ago now at this point. And I think it's one of his best films. And it's emotionally driven. It's not just it's a lot of action. Like, let me not get that fucked up. It's a lot of action in that film. But as far as the performances from Jake Gyllenhaal and my man Yahya, it was a good film. And I felt for the characters. But he attacked something that while it was, you know, it was over the top and it was crazy, it felt steeped in reality. Like maybe on a Saturday afternoon or whatever happened, this shit could happen. None of Zack Snyder's films feel like that. None of them. Not a single one. They all feel like fever dreams. I feel like he would be better understood as a director if he attacked something steeped in reality. That's just how I feel. And I feel like his detractors want something different from him. And his supporters could care less. They just like the guy. You know, if you watch interviews with him, he's a likable dude. He's a charming cat. So, you know, he's in great shape. Listen, he DP'd his last 2 movies. Think about that. A dude is getting $250 million budgets. And he's like, I want to be the camera op. He's dedicated, dog. Like, I see why people like him. I like him. It's just that I'm not a big fan of his storytelling. But his visual aesthetic is undeniable. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's some of the best in the business. Take it how you want. But he's definitely a misunderstood director because people go into his movies expecting one thing, knowing goddamn well they're going to get what they've always been getting from him. It's like, hey, I would like to have avocado on toast, and then somebody give me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. But all they make is peanut butter jelly sandwiches. You went to the peanut butter jelly stand asking for avocado on toast. That's your fault. But you know, you have to review movies. You watch them with subjectivity and you come away with however you felt from it. So I get that. But I go into his movies knowing I'm going to see beautiful images. I know that. Bright colors. Well, not all the time. It was bright colors in Rebel Moon. A lot of his movies are very subdued in that manner. But that's his style. That's his thing. At least he did try something new with this, right? You got to give him credit for that. So yeah, Zack Snyder's probably the most divisive, polarizing, and ultimately misunderstood directors of this generation. I would like to see him attack something steeped in reality to see where his storytelling goes. Now, if he botches that, maybe it just is what it is. But I'm not going to count him out just yet. He's still a pretty good director. He still makes some stuff that I like. So I'm going to be tuned in. I want to see what Rebel Moon Part 2 is. The Scar Giver, you know, I didn't really care much for this first one, but I know it's going to be some insane visuals in Part 2. I'll be tuned in. That being said, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all take it easy. Enjoy the rest of y'all day. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Love you more. Release the Snyder Cut, bitches.